fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender.
The constitutional point of view was critical for Jefferson's support of the Bill of Rights.
As we mourn the loss of thousands of our citizens, I can hear you!
Is time running out?
It's Saturday. Welcome to the Hayden Collins radio program, The Intelligence Syndicate. Yeah, we're back from the break. Memorial Day weekend. Spent a lot of time at the National Cemetery and left there and actually met with a group of individuals and we talked. Had a meeting with some Gold Star wives. If you don't know what that is, you look that up online. Because if you listen to my show, you should know what a Gold Star wife is. Nonetheless, wrapped up that weekend. Came back out and started working again, flying back and forth to California, and all of a sudden started paying attention to the news. And some of the kids that graduated my ATF course, and that's not alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, that's advanced training flight course. I'm really proud of them. One of them graduated with honors from the Air Force Academy. And if you happen to watch the news, Donald Trump showed up to the Air Force Academy graduation and shook everybody's hands. So the young man who graduated my ATF, who now graduated the Air Force Academy, has got a picture of himself shaking the president's hand upon his graduation. Awesome! Awesome! The commander-in-chief is there. And that's just really cool. Really, really cool. Nonetheless, the Intelligence Syndicate, hard at it. I got to bring a couple of things to your attention. We talked about conspiracy theories last time. I had a little fun with it. Talking about how North Korea was involved in a distraction event with the press to keep them occupied as American forces were redistributed and passed around the world and reallocated without drawing that much of attention. Quick, shoot a short-range rocket, Kim Jong-il, and everybody will pay attention to you, and I can sneak this division of soldiers out, and nobody will know. Can you imagine the phone conversation that took place? President Trump calls Kim Jong-un, hey, can you do me a solid? Can you fire off a couple of short rangers? We got to get the press to pay attention to you so I can move some supplies around, people around without anybody noticing. And he's like, you can't help but think, wait a second. No, that wouldn't happen. These guys wouldn't do that. But right now I wouldn't put it past them. I would not put it past them. But it is graduation time. I've been looking at all the kids that I helped and all the ones that we've chartered, and each year I'm impressed with those that graduate and waiting next year for other ones to graduate. So I got to see a lot of that. Very impressed with the kids that I've worked with. I've got a couple more high school students that I'm working with right now that I'm going to be looking forward to their ACTs and SAT scores and seeing where they're going to go and project themselves for a better future. A couple of my own kids have just returned from overseas and got a couple of more getting ready to go overseas. Children spread everywhere. They are everywhere. All right, I got to do a little personal note here. Everybody that has newborn children that really works hard, two working families, something that's been breaking my heart. And it happens often enough to bother me. Even if it happens once, it bothers me. But it happens often enough where it's becoming an unwelcome trend. Hardworking families are working so hard and they're so preoccupied with their jobs they forget to drop the kid off at the daycare center and the kid dies in the car. There is a device out, and I just introduced it to United Way of Bartow County. And believe me, the people with the safety group there with United Way of Bartow County ate it up, and they thought it was just not even my invention. I don't even know who to tell you the invention is. I can tell you where to get it. If you go to Safe America Foundation, they have a lanyard, a bright yellow lanyard that hangs around your neck that has a device on the end of it that fits into every baby seat. It's a universal lock that fits into every baby seat. So when you put the baby in the seat, you put this thing around your neck, And if you get to work and you still have it around your neck, you go, oh, dear God, the baby's still in the car. Okay? You're so space cadet working on stuff, trying to achieve. You forgot the baby's in the car. Go take care of the baby, you idiot. And if it's not around your neck, it's in the baby seat because you took the baby out, dropped the baby off at the daycare or with your mom or at your aunts or whatever the case may be. And it's a safety device. It's an army proof, and I like using the word army proof because we try to army proof everything. It's an army proof device that is designed as a secondary fail-safe to ensure the safety of your child. That, oops, you did forget, or no, you didn't. But it's just a simple lanyard that you can take a moment and put around your neck to make sure that, okay, I didn't forget the kid. Man, I would hate to be those parents, and that would destroy a family if that ever happened. It would completely destroy a family. But I would hate to be those parents. But this simple little lanyard, I'm not sure. I think they go for $1 or something like that. I don't know. I know it's very reasonable considering what you're buying it for and what you're using it for. So go to Safe America Foundation, look on their website, reach out to Lynn. Lynn is the chairman. If you can't figure it out, you can't find it, Lynn's contact information is on there, his email account's on there. You hit this guy up, you get this information from him, and you find a way to get that lanyard if you got a newborn. I passed a bunch of them out to moms this past weekend. You would not believe the response. Like, oh, what a great idea. And one woman said, well, I'd never do that, but you know what? I'm going to do this because I know I'm tired and I'm up nights with the baby and things are sick and this, that, and the other, and I have to do things, and I don't want to forget. This is really important. So if you get the opportunity, Safe America Foundation, take a look at that. There's some, United Way of Bartow County hasn't got it, but you can get access to it from there. Do it. Secondary fail-safe. So that's my personal pet peeve out of the way. Summer's coming. Consider that a public service announcement. You know, get the little yellow lanyard device with the universal thing on it to plug into your baby seat. Save the kid. So we don't want to do something stupid. All right, so let's get back to some politics and a little bit of humor here. These guys are getting really good with their memes. And some of the memes we're reading out there online are hilarious. And I'm not going to report to you what's online. That would be very boring stuff, because if you wanted to see it online, you go looking for it yourself. But there's some creativeness that's going on with all of the, oops, now the investigation's done. What's going to happen? Now, if you go back to our archives, oh, and I love doing this. If you go back to our archives, I get to do one of those I told you so moments, and I kind of like this. I really do. I said, you know what? This is a dragon creation that's going to come back and haunt the makers. It's exactly what I said, and I love it that it's on the recording. And I had this whole show about it. I said, okay, guys, do a special counsel with an open-ended, that's not going to research anything but the Republican side, and all you're asking for is another special counsel to come out and do nothing but investigate the Democratic side. Sure enough, here we go. The can of worms is being opened. Special prosecutors being appointed. What is spying? Were they doing it for the good of the country? Were they naive and just didn't understand they were breaking the rules? Oh, they didn't know they were breaking the rules. They should be released. Oh, here we go with the double standards of laws. If you're too stupid to understand what you're doing and you didn't ask for counsel, guess who's responsible? That would be you. And if there's an abundance of anything in Washington, D.C., it's lawyers. And if you don't think they ask lawyers for everything, believe me, they'll ask lawyers for everything. So somehow I find it hard to believe that leaders that have been in political position for years and years and years did not go out of their way to ask a lawyer on whether or not this was legal, whether it was not legal, and they took that legal advice and did something with it, or maybe better yet, they purposely did not ask the lawyers so they would not find out it was illegal because they didn't want to know. Either way, the snake is going to come around and bite its tail. A new investigation, everything that's being launched. I suspect, now, call this, I don't know, mind reading 101. This is kind of funny. But I suspect about the time the presidential election heats up, oh my God, what timing could that be? A lot of information is going to come out that's going to be very suspicious about the last administration. Not only very suspicious, but it's going to warrant opening an investigation and calling people into grand juries and putting people on the stand about things abusive in government and misuse of government resources and a misappropriation of funds, all to research political opponents like they do in Russia. Wait a second. Didn't we just go through that? Like they did in Russia? And it's going to be all drawn out all the way up to election time. And there's going to be distrust everywhere. And they're going to say, oh, you guys shouldn't be doing this. It creates distrust in the nation and blah. I said, no, what creates distrust in the nation is doing it in the first place. You guys got your hands caught in the cookie jar. You were hoping you could sway public opinion. You didn't. You were hoping you could sway an opinion position, and you didn't. And now it's coming back on you. So the final joke on this one, and I don't like to say it's a joke because it's not, but it's one of those things that you have to go back in history to look at some of the old positions they used to have. And one of the old positions they used to have in politics is blame your opponent for what you're doing. You know, if you're doing it, try to make it look like your opponent's doing it, and that way they'll look at them and not you. And the internet has stopped that. With the internet, you can't do that anymore because there's more transparency in the internet. Of course, a lot of it's fake news, but it causes people to be more transparent because they don't even want to give them the opportunity for the fake news. So it gets a little hairy. It gets a little hairy. So watch that one. See if my prediction's right on that. Of course, you don't have to be a genius to understand how politics works. If the public's giving you information to throw at your opponents and you don't use it, well, you're a fool. And the second part of that is never interrupt your opponent if they're making a mistake. I have to hand it to these guys. They did not interrupt their opponent at all when they were making a mistake. They assigned all Democrats to the council that couldn't find anything. and they can't do anything about it. So they can't come out and say, well, all these Democratic lawyers were wrong because they're throwing mud at themselves. They were hoping somebody was going to protest their Democratic lawyers, and they didn't. Oh, what a nightmare. Another nightmare. Oh, I love this one. This is the next rallying cry for Convention of States and the next rallying cry of Electoral College. Electoral College, all right, so you guys know, Los Angeles population by itself has got more population in that city than most states have, okay? And you know, the reason we have a college is so that Los Angeles is not selecting the president of the United States every year. Now, California has a problem because Los Angeles and San Francisco is selecting the governor every year, and they've got a general rebellion going on, but they got bigger problems than that out there, trust me. So, you know, that's their problem. That state needs a college inside its own state so people can receive equal representation and not just two cities. So, you know, there is that. But let's take it to a nationwide level. The overreactive, emotional individuals that believe that the popular vote should win should find themselves in a very interesting position because they themselves are creating a compact. Yeah, I did say the word compact, between states, saying that if a popular vote happens and the popular vote is winning, that they will change their delegates after the election to go with the popular vote, regardless of what they're supposed to be representing in their states, as a compact with other states. Now, leave it to the Founding Fathers, almost like they did time travel, and they knew the way around this, and they figured a way around this to stop this from happening because, you know, I don't know how they know this stuff. It's freaking amazing that the Founding Fathers would plan for such an idiot move. Because there's a clause in the Constitution that talks about compacts and how during elections they're unconstitutional because it removes the representation of the people. Because it's a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. Not of the compacts, for the compacts, and by the compacts. So these guys are going through this entire effort, showboating, oh, we're going to change this so next time the popular vote wins. And no, sorry, it doesn't. You misunderstood. You're not educated enough to know about the Electoral College and how it works and why it works. And not only that, if you're not educated enough to know what the compact clause is in the Constitution and you go through this whole effort, you're wasting taxpayer money. You're wasting time on the floor that could be otherwise dedicated towards something to help the general public and the general welfare, instead of a political move that means nothing, that goes nowhere. And it's done and it's toast. So keep an eye on those compact guys. That's going to get real funny because each one of the states are probably going to have their own lawsuits inside their own state claiming they were not represented, which is further on down the road going to force them to break up their delegates in their state to represent the votes they received, like some other states have done. Now, just so you know, and I've gone over this a couple of times, so I'll go over it again real quick. Some states are winner-take-all states. So, for example, California has a lot of delegates. And if you're the Democratic guy in California and, you get, let's say, more than half, I don't know what the rule is, I'm just going to make it up because it's an all-or-nothing state, then you get all the delegates. Even though less than half of the delegates were Republican, you still get all the delegates, okay? Well, in some of the northeastern states, they said, no, in order to best represent the voters, each delegate's got to vote the way that their districts voted. So in a Democratic state, you could have a Republican district and that delegate has to go Republican. Oh, no. Can't have that. Can't have that kind of representation. Same thing on the other side. Okay? And that eliminates the mob rule thing. That eliminates the winner-take-all thing. But see, there's a lot of states that, still have the winner-take-all delegate program. There's some that are awakening and going, no, we're breaking it up. And this latest iteration of popular vote, that's just going to take a loss. I got to talk about something else here too. I only got a couple of minutes left, but the hot topic of immigration and abortion. I usually don't cover things like that because we don't like talking about current events. But we had a roundtable this past week, live roundtable. It was brought up. And I had to talk about why things are a little egregious right now. You have some states that are creating laws that, and of course they're exaggerated. It's not the purpose of the law, but they're going to kill the baby after it comes out of the womb if the mom doesn't want it, okay? There are issues there. You see how the law is written. You see what's going on. The conservatives are going to scream bloody murder. On the other side, the conservatives have answered in their conservative states going, okay, it's not going to happen anymore. It's illegal. If a doctor breaks this law, the doctor will go to jail, not the mom or the kid. So they're taking the mom out of the equation. She's still in control of everything. They're controlling the doctors. Now, you're saying, oh my God, those are terrible rules, or this, or that, and the other, and blah, 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 whatever the case may be. I'll let you know right now, all of this is for show. It's about 8 to 10 years. There is a strategy being played out. It is a race to the Supreme Court to make a final decision. And here's the race. The conservative states want somebody to violate their law so they can get their law to the Supreme Court first and have it be challenged. And so it's challenged, it becomes the law of the land. The liberal states want their law to be challenged first so it can get to the Supreme Court so they can reinforce Roe versus Wade or whatever the case may be so they can reinforce their law. What you are seeing right now is states doing a states' rights thing to set up a challenge for ratification by the Supreme Court and the federal government, and the first group to win is the one that's going to set the precedent for the next couple of lifetimes. That's what you're seeing. So try not to get wrapped around the axle on every day-to-day event and start looking at the long-term goals and objectives of these things. There are lots of lobbyists making money off this. There are lots of special interest groups making money off this. I could not believe that Missouri was the first state to become an anti-abortion state. So, holy cats, Missouri? I was expecting someplace like Georgia or Alabama or Mississippi, something like that. I did not expect Missouri. Now Louisiana's jumping on board. This is a shocker to me. An absolute shocker. But what it's telling me is, if I were to draw the lines of the failed Obamacare program and all the states that sued the federal government trying to avoid ratification of the Obamacare program, I think I'm going to see those same lines drawn again in this battle. I don't think it's going to change that much, maybe one or two states. And once it gets to the Supreme Court and there's a decision at the Supreme Court, the ratification is going to come from the judicial system, not through the courts, not through the states. So no state can say that they had to make a decision. So no legislator could say he was pro or against. So they can avoid this entire subject, and they're actually pushing it off on the judicial branch. It's just an interesting theory. It's just one of those things that you look at and go, they're forcing an issue. It's a race to force an issue. Whoever wins the race wins the issue. So watch how it progresses through the system. Watch how it progresses through the legal system. And just see where it goes. But try not to focus on the emotional day-to-day events. Look at the long-term goals and obligations here. All right, we're out of time. Up next is a little bit long edition of Oops, I Arted Again. And we'll run with that. Now, I understand I'm going to cut out a commercial break to make sure they get in. The girls do great, but they said this show is so good they couldn't cut it down to 12 minutes. So we'll roll that in there. In the meantime, you got a lot of things to research. Keep your eye on the ball. Be about it.